We just finished testing all of the Gen 1 muzzle brakes from Botnia Solutions. The results were shocking, and that's what we're going to cover in this video. Hey guys, Gavin here from UltimateReloader.com. A while back, a company called Botnia Solutions reached out to us saying, hey, you have to try our muzzle brakes. And at first I was a little bit skeptical. You know, we've used a ton of brakes. It seems like, you know, the next person is coming out with a whole line of brakes every week or every month. You know, there's just a lot of competition, and a lot of the brakes perform pretty equivalently in the testing that I've found. But I thought, okay, yeah, we'll give these things a try. So I want to show you some shooting footage of shooting with a Botnia brake. This is a 6.5 Creedmoor. So what surprised me about shooting this 6.5 Creedmoor with this MIDI brake was how low the concussion was, but how effective the recoil reduction was. I was watching the shots land on paper one after another. I was just using a rear bag and a bipod. 5 shots went into 0.321 inches. So it's definitely sure that this thing is not harming accuracy at all. But what really was awesome about the whole shooting experience was the fact that I could see the target and my sight picture had minimal disruption. Plus, with the side port design, of course, I didn't have a bunch of dust and dirt blowing all over the place. So I learned from talking with Tobias, the owner at Botnia Solutions, how he uses advanced tools like CAD and CFD, or computational fluid dynamics, to design these brakes. These are the Gen 1 brakes, and we've got pretty much all of them here. The design is really unique. It uses a method called controlled gas exit. There's a very specific port geometry. These are all 5-port brakes for the Gen 1 brakes. And when you look inside, you can see this is a different geometry. It's a different pathway for the gases. The gases are held to higher pressure, and they are therefore directed and can reduce recoil more effectively. They're also angled upwards, each of the ports. These brakes are 3D printed, and that means that there are manufacturing methods, things that can be accomplished that can't be accomplished with traditional subtractive machining. The threads are CNC machined, and then they're final reamed so that you have really good concentricity. There's also a jam nut, so you don't have to worry about timing. You just screw it on, get the jam nut in the right position, tighten the jam nut. There's a tool that's included with all but the Mini from the lineup that we have here. And it just means that these brakes are super easy to install. They work really, really well. And there's really a lot to it in terms of the design that went into these. They're available in silver, like you see here, or Cerakote black. They have engraved text that give all of the different specifications and the branding. So what are the outcomes for Botnia brakes? Maximum recoil reduction, low concussion, low dust blast, and reduced muzzle rise. I saw all of these when I shot that awesome 5-shot group with this 6.5 Creedmoor rifle. So let's take a quick walk through the product lineup. There are 3 models within the Botnia Gen 1 muzzle brake lineup. Mini, which is a more compact design. This is going to be aimed more towards hunting applications, where you want to control weight and you want to control size. It can be used on larger rifles. It's just optimized for those types of situations. MIDI, which is this brake here, falls kind of in the middle. It's going to be optimized for 6 to 6.5 calibers. It still does an amazing job reducing recoil, but it doesn't have quite the recoil reduction capabilities of Maxi, which really takes things to the max. So it's about maximum recoil reduction, but it's also about a bit of added weight. This is a substantial brake. There are shooters that want to have that weight out on the muzzle to dampen barrel harmonics, to balance the rifle a little bit better so it's not, buttstock heavy. So some shooters could use a MIDI but use a maxi just for the additional weight and the proportions. So in terms of options, there are 6 different muzzle threadings, 3 metric, M14 by 1, M15 by 1, M18 by 1. And then there are 3 imperial threading options, half 28, which is common with 22 cal, 5/8 24, which is very popular across the board, and then 3/4 24, which has become more popular for PRS rifles, even down to the 6.5 class, but is a great option for something like a 338 Lapua. Mini comes in all these configurations except 3/4 24. MIDI comes in all of the different options, and Maxi is oriented towards larger calibers. So M18 by 1 on the metric side, 5/8 by 24, or 3/4 24 on the imperial size. There are 2 caliber options, and these are available across Mini, MIDI, and Maxi. You've got the 5.56 to 7 millimeter, which is 223 to 284, and then you've got 7.62 to 8.6, or 30 cal all the way up to 338. And there are 2 color options, as I mentioned previously, the silver and the Cerakote. Okay, so you're probably wondering, hey, you said it did a great job, taming the recoil, but what does that mean? Can you quantify that? Well, of course we can quantify that. We're Ultimate Reloader, right? We've got the Ultimate Reloader recoil test setup that we built based on a collaboration with Duosoft, which is a data acquisition company, and PCB Piezoelectronics, which makes the force load cell that we use in our recoil rig. This is a pretty advanced setup. We can see shots and plots in real time. The data is collected at up to 200,000 samples per second with this particular setup. Very, very advanced capability, and what it allows us to see is exactly what's happening at the buttstock, rearward forces. So let me go through what we decided for our test configurations. We did 2 different rifles, a 22-250 and a 300 PRC. For the 22-250, we have 5 tests: the bare muzzle, the Botnia Mini, the Botnia Maxi, the SJC 556 stainless, and the Mercury 556. These are brakes that we've tested in some of our other shootouts and lineups, and I wanted to include them because they represent a good middle ground recoil reduction scenario. For the 30 cal, the 300 PRC scenario, we have the bare muzzle, we have MIDI, Maxi, and Mini. We have Area 419 Hellfire and the EC tuner brake. So hopefully these tests will give you a good comparison within the Botnia lineup, but then also against competitive solutions as well. So we got the recoil rig set up. We got the rifle prepared. We had 55 grain factory ammunition for 22-250. We had 225 grain match ammo for the 300 PRC. After taking a couple test shots and verifying that the setup was working properly, we started to take shots. And this is what we ended up with. We can see all of the shots. The high one there is the bare muzzle, and then progressively going downward, we have brakes that are going to do incrementally better jobs taming that and suppressing recoil. So what did this net out? Here things are from highest peak force to minimum peak force. We had the bare muzzle at 591 pounds. It's 600 pounds just about of force into your shoulder. Then we had Mercury 556 at 281.3 pounds peak force. The Botnia Mini had 212.8, and the Botnia Maxi had 192.4. That's right, from 591 down to 192.4. So the Botnia Mini and the Botnia Maxi had the 2 best recoil reduction numbers, with a 64% reduction in recoil for the Mini and a 67.4% recoil reduction for Maxi. That is amazing, and this is top of class for 22 cal brakes that we've tested. Okay, then on to 300 PRC. This is the same 300 PRC rifle that we used when we compared recoil between 300 PRC and 300 Win Mag. What we found in that story was pretty interesting and not totally surprising. They are nearly identical, right? So you wouldn't choose a 300 PRC over a 300 Win Mag or vice versa based on recoil. It's really about other factors. But we had matching HMR Wilderness rifles from Bergara, and they produced nice clean plots of recoil. And for a 30 caliber, the 300 PRC represents nearly it's an extreme scenario. I won't say a worst case scenario. It's not a 300 rum, but it's really extreme and it's really intense. And I felt that when I took the first shot. This shot bounced the rifle, and there was a lot of dust blowing around, and there was a lot of commotion, right? And you can see how high the plot is. It's crazy. The successive shots definitely made things better. A little bit more blast, obviously, from the side as we're taking these shots. But you could definitely tell the rifle's not bouncing around as much. The recoil is definitely a lot less. So what did that look like in terms of numbers? This was even more drastic than the 22 caliber scenario, and it makes sense because this is a Magnum. We have high gas flow, high pressure gas, and that means more effective recoil reduction, which means a bigger difference between bare muzzle and any of the braked configs. So our bare muzzle came in at 1251.9. That's right, 1,251 pounds. That's over a half ton in your shoulder, right? Very, very small amount of time, but that's pretty extreme. Next, we had the EC tuner brake at 413.1 pounds. That's a good job reducing recoil. That's a lot, right? Exactly 67% recoil reduction. Then the Area 409 Hellfire at 371.4. That was 70.3%. Then Botnia Mini at 370.8. Very, very close to the Area 419 Hellfire at 70.4% recoil reduction. But things got really amazing when we went to Maxi and Midi. Maxi had a peak force of 232.4 or 81.4% recoil reduction. That is by far the most drastic recoil reduction we've ever seen in any test ever. But it got better, right? Midi, surprisingly, was right there, and it had 81.8%. So we'll basically say that these are equivalent. 81.4 and 81.8% recoil reduction, respectively. That was 232.4 versus 227.4 pounds. It was really surprising. What that tells me is a lot of that recoil reduction is probably happening in the first few ports, something like that. Both brakes work well, and as Botnia has positioned these products, going up to Maxi might be more about the weight when you want additional weight on the muzzle for its damping effects for both the recoil and muzzle whip. But I absolutely couldn't believe what I was seeing when I saw these plots. Absolutely amazing performance, and you're going to really tell a huge difference if you're shooting a Magnum like this, a medium weight Magnum. Some of our rifles that are in this class, we weigh down to like 26 pounds with a full weight kit and whatnot. But with a brake like this, you really don't have to. So I think if you're shooting a Magnum and you don't mind the extra weight, I think Midi would be a really good hunting solution. That's what Mini is for, and Mini is available in 30 cal, but it's good to know that you have multiple options within the family. Okay, so I don't know if you're feeling as surprised as I was at the conclusion of these tests. This is really extreme performance. And if you have an opportunity to see these brakes in person and to see the packaging, the way that they come with the multi-tool, they come with the bubble levels. You put one on your scope turret cap and then one on the brake, and you can get them perfectly level with respect to each other. You know, this is a premium brake. It's a premium experience, right? The tool has multiple cutouts here. I'm not going to show you installing a brake because of YouTube guidelines. That could be a bit of a ding on our channel. But multiple other things that you can do with this tool as well, which we got with Midi and with Maxi. So at the end of the day, I think this is the ultra premium of brakes, right? In terms of appearance, in terms of performance, it was a pleasure to shoot with. I'm very curious to try this with some heavier recoiling rifles and maybe some ELR. What I'd like to know is, what did you think about these brakes? Or are you shooting a Botnia brake? What are you shooting it on, and what have your experiences been? If you want to know more about the brakes, we'll have a lot more information and a breakdown of all of our graphs, data, and analytics in the accompanying article. That's typically the first link in the video description. So drop a comment. We'll see you down there in the comment section. Thank you very much for watching. That concludes this video, and that means it's time to wrap it up. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you're watching Ultimate Reloader on TV and want to take advantage of free resources, exclusives, and hot deals, just hold your camera phone up to the QR code, tap on the link, fill out the information, boom, you're getting Ultimate Reloader emails. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, we're on Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, where we've got unrestricted content, and Instagram. Make sure to follow us on all those channels. Ultimate Reloader also has a commercial solutions division serving law enforcement, the military, and the gun industry. We have some unique capabilities, including a comprehensive suite of recoil testing and evaluation capabilities, trigger profiling, and more. Thanks again for watching.